Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday and welcome to Workforce Wednesday. Joining us this month is Seth Shelby, MPH, BSPE, and Program Manager for Healthier Generation, Healthy Schools and Communities program under the Alliance for a Healthy Generation. Welcome, Seth. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Could you introduce yourself and give us a little bit more information about you?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Seth Shelby. Again, I'm a Healthy Schools and Communities Program Manager with the Alliance for a Healthier Generation. Currently located in Columbia, South Carolina. A proud graduate of University of South Carolina for both my undergraduate degree in physical education and then, of course, my master's in public health. Um, in 2021. So, yeah, very proud graduate of USC. Very big fan of the Center for Community Health Alignment, all things community health workers, and all things school wellness. I've been teaching in South Carolina previous to this position for the last 5 years. And it has been truly just a blessing to be able to serve in this program manager capacity for the last year and a half, being able to work under the Diabetes Free SC grant, which has been so graciously provided by Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation of South Carolina.
That's so awesome. I am also a fellow USC grad. Go Cox.
Yeah.
And I also had to take some exercise science classes in my public health degree. So we probably took some of the same curriculum, but that is awesome
Probably.
that you have such a rich background for what you're working with now because it literally just sets you up perfectly for this.
It did. The teaching experience, you know, it really lent itself well, I won't lie, but it was so cool to be on both sides of this. I used Healthier Generations, tools and assessment tools, action planning tools as a physical educator to lead my own school wellness committees and school wellness work in the teaching space. So then to be able to kind of go onto the program manager side and be able to offer district support, school support, technical assistance, be on site, and really tie in that community piece. It's been a really beautiful match, and I've been happy to do the work.
Oh, that's super awesome because you really like came from someone who started their own program, so you can really understand someone who's starting their own and just starting out, and you're like, hey, I've been there, like, let's do this together.
Yeah, it really helps. I've walked that walk, and I've been that person. Unfortunately, I didn't always do it the right way in terms of building that community support and building the school support around me. Oftentimes, when doors would be closed as a teacher, I just was like, okay, I'll go ahead and do this, and I'll burn the candle at both ends, and that's not the most sustainable way or healthy way. And unfortunately, there's a lot of educators who still operate that way who want to do really great things, whether it be a nurse or a PE teacher or a classroom teacher, or even a different staff member, a janitorial staff, someone in the school building who wants to do great things as it relates to school wellness, and they don't necessarily know how to start and where to look. And it's so refreshing to be a part of that journey and to help them and to connect them to resources, because there's so much strong in this state and with Healthier Generation. And it's always nice to see people get something started and to see it blossom into something really fantastic.
That's so awesome. You get to address those barriers that they're facing. You get to be that person that gets to tell them yes instead of finally getting, all these no's and then you finally get a yes. And it's so awesome. It's so nice to hear.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, can you tell me a little bit more about what Healthier Generation is?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're a national nonprofit. We've been in the state over a decade. My predecessor, Beth Berry, who was instrumental in kind of getting Healthier Generation off the ground in South Carolina, it really has been a really great relationship between South Carolina schools and Healthier Generation. Of course, being a nonprofit, all of our tools and resources that we offer are absolutely free, and that's available to any school, public school and district nationwide. So schools and districts can sign up and essentially just get free access to evidence-based assessments, action planning tools, resources, training, you name it, it's kind of there. Um, and it's an organization that has a really good cause. Our mission statement is that every mind and every body and every young person should be healthy and ready to succeed. And it's awesome being a part of an organization that walks that walk. We really focus on a big part of what we do is the recognition of the social determinants of health, poverty, and educational disenfranchisement, as being key drivers of health inequities, and we really try to support whole child efforts to really address that. Again, by connecting community agencies and community capacity to the schools who might be struggling to address those needs on their own. And maybe just sometimes connecting districts and schools to a vision that they weren't aware of, and to really allow everyone to have a seat at the table. So that's really what Healthier Generation is all about, and it's been really refreshing to be a part of it.
That's super awesome. Being that bridge, that's something we talk about all the time, especially on Workforce Wednesday, is being that bridge between the people who need resources and the people who have the resources to give it to them. So you talked a little bit about these guides and toolkits that are available. So it seems like if you don't already have a school wellness committee, that you can start your own. Is that true? And then also, could you tell us a little bit more about the toolkits and like how to use those?
Oh, absolutely. The first thing you should always do, whether you work with schools or not, a direct involvement or indirect involvement, even as a community member, you have a space on a school wellness team. And yes, you're exactly right. If a school does not have a school wellness team, or if a district doesn't have a district wellness team, those are often referred to as CSHACs. If those things aren't really active, that's okay. Recognizing that and being aware is the first step, right? And then it's just starts to build. It starts with building support and working through a real process that we'll kind of go over hopefully in a little bit. But it really starts from the ground level. It starts with engagement. And so I really implore anyone who has never been on healthiergeneration.org, go look around the website, go check things out. Community members, even those who don't have direct involvement with the district, will still have some access when they sign up on the Action Center. So by starting that process, looking around and kind of knowing what's available, when a community member is really ready to get engaged with the school district. And trust me, I hear that all the time. People who are like, how do I get involved? Who do I reach out to? As we all know in public health, a lot of stuff operates in its own silos. And one of the things about school health and school wellness is we really have to try to eliminate those silos and get people talking. So yeah, first step, just kind of look around, see what's available, and then try to link up with people at the district level or school level and try to start that engagement.
No, that's really awesome. Like starting at that like baseline, like you have, assessed this need, like you've assessed it and you're like, okay, it's here. We know that we, need this program in our school or we could use these resources. What do we do now? And it's like, okay, well, let's rally together. Let's find like-minded individuals. Let's find parents. Let's find stakeholders. Let's get on the school board, talk to the school nurse and see who else has also identified that need or get them on board and be like, hey, have you noticed this before? And then kind of get that ball rolling. And then you guys could start your own little committee. And I think that's super awesome to be able to build it with people of your community and keeping it engaged that way and not having somebody from outside your city or outside your state come in and be involved in it. It's definitely like having those resources, but also having the people from the community partnering.
You nailed it. That's exactly it. It all starts with community engagement, and you want, even as like when I go to a district or community that I don't live in, of course, establishing that trust and showing them sort of some of the roadmaps available to how do you get from here to here. But a lot of times, you kind of nailed it with schools. There's tons of data. There's data on top of data, and a lot of times there's data just sits somewhere and it's not really being utilized. And so part of this journey too is establishing, if we're gathering data in all these other ways, and then of course we have some evidence-based assessment tools that we could use within Healthier Generation. That data then needs to go into action, and that's a huge part of what we do, is really moving from, okay, here's the story so far, and then here's what we can do with this data to really change that story and to change that narrative. Whether it be through resource mapping, whether it be engaging community partners, there's a lot of different options available. But it all starts with building engagement and building support. If you're a single person in a school building trying to do all the work that goes into school wellness, it's going to be an exhausting experience, and it's not sustainable. And we really need school wellness to be on the same platform as any of the other indicators that we use. It needs to be just as important as the future employability for our students. We need to have those same conversations with their present wellness, and also with our staff wellness and the community wellness of what what is available within a given community. It's all part of school wellness. It's not existing in its own silo. It's all connected.
Yeah, that's very true. How the all those social determinants of health kind of interlay and all affect each other on those different levels. And beyond just health and wellness habits in general, how that's going to affect them long term, how it affects their ability to like, get education and all that kind of stuff. So it really health and wellness and eating well and getting enough activity in really affects like your whole body, how you're functioning, how your mood is, how much you can learn, like I was saying. And then all of that, I feel like really addressing it at a young age is so important. And then like you were saying, we have all this data. It's like, all right, this is here. And y'all are like taking the action and you're like, all right, we're doing something with it. Identify the need and we'll come to you and we'll come help you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's really what, drove the grant behind, which funds my on-site support to the districts that I serve. Again, huge shout out to Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation of South Carolina, and their support. We're part of that, and diabetes free SC, it stems from that. It's that these numbers that we see, which are very staggering, right? I think over 500,000 adults in South Carolina have been diagnosed with diabetes, and within those numbers there are racial disparities and economic disparities, and an additional, over a million folks have pre-diabetes. So again, these are staggering numbers. And so how do we use those numbers to create action? And part of that is what we do on our side. On the upstream side of that is early interventions, especially as it relates to physical activity and nutritional intake. Building more robust nutritional environments that are inclusive of healthy foods. We have a wonderful program in diabetes free and the umbrella of diabetes free SC called Food Share South Carolina. So it's just a wonderful program. So little things like that, open community use policy. We, again, one of the beautiful things about this position and this work is getting to connect with all these wonderful people who are doing amazing things in the state, whether it be people at DHEC or whether it be people within community agencies, and really just trying to get those folks to communicate directly with the school districts and the schools and get these things off the ground. And that's really how we see those changes. It's not just educating, right? It's action. It's making sure that students, parents, community folks are involved in the process. When they have more of an understanding and awareness of what is going on in their environments and how they can create civic engagement to create that change, that's really when we start to see things, communities start to thrive. And that's really what we're aiming for.
It's really putting that autonomy into them. It's coming in and being like, hey, these are tools and resources that are available to you. And then now you can go and share those with other members and you can continue to do this. And it kind of creates this like rippling effect of great impact on other people. So, and kind of what you were saying, I was just about to say, I was like, I see how CHWs fit into this because community health workers are all of those things that you were mentioning. They fit into all these different little niches all the time. But how do you personally see CHWs benefiting the Healthy Schools program?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Community health workers. When I start talking about community health workers, I start getting like the hairs on my arm start to stand up. It goes without saying, we need community health workers involved with school wellness. We need them having seats at the table, either on school wellness teams and preferably district wellness teams, really helping guide that district vision and connecting districts to the resources that exist. I mentioned earlier, our evidence-based process, and it's a 6-step process. And we talk about building support, assessing your school. So taking assessments that are evidence-based, action planning, developing that action, and then exploring resources so that you can take action. And then, of course, every year at the end, the 6th step is we celebrate success. You got to celebrate. You got to acknowledge the small victories. But really, it's in that steps like step 4 and step 5, exploring resources, taking action. These are where community health workers I see as having the largest impact. These folks are connected, their ears to the ground of what is available. They are able to really be able to have, I mean, most of these are folks who are embedded in these communities that have established trust and connections built. These are folks who can really do a lot of promotion, a lot of advocacy, get people who don't have a seat at the school wellness committee yet and get them on and really help them see the benefit of joining and why it's important for these conversations to be held. I We are at the very, I think at the very early stages of really seeing some real connections for community health workers and school wellness. They are an extremely powerful public health tool, maybe the most powerful for some of the obstacles that we face in South Carolina and in our nation. And the more we have them involved with school wellness, the stronger these communities are going to be. It's just as simple as that.
That's so true. They already have the voices of the community. They know the people within the community. They are of the community themselves, but they also have the resources as well. So they can kind of speak on both of those sides of it. They kind of are already, that groundwork is already there for what you guys are doing. And they can just take that and, like, keep it going and make it grow even further. So you hit on these 6-step processes. Could you highlight those just, like, in a couple bullet points one more time for me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's a big part of what we do because it's one thing to just build support and it's one thing to just take an assessment. But again, if we just have data for data's sake, that data just sits somewhere and we're not using it. So the whole point of the 6-step process is really just to create a continuous improvement journey. I Most people who are really involved with district wellness or school wellness or champions that we've had relationships with here in South Carolina, um, they oftentimes refer to this as a roadmap, and that's really all it is. If you go to healthiergeneration.org and you just go in the search option, you can just type in 6-step process and really go into each step a little bit more in depth, and you can actually get real life examples of people who've used them within certain areas. Um, but yeah, I'll go through those really quickly. The first is just building support. You have to build that support and to get people to convene on that school wellness committee or district wellness committee. You don't want it just to be one person or two people. You want this to be seen. You want it to be visible and transparent for the community. And again, this is really where community engagement is imperative. Looking at who's at the table and who's not, and really trying to focus on getting the most inclusive wellness team convene that you can. That's really the first step. And then second step is just assessing your school or your district. Again, we have Healthier Generation is just so awesome in terms of how it's always thinking forward. And for years, we've used evidence-based assessments that aligned with the school health index from the CDC. And we still do. All of our assessments are evidence-based. They're vetted through our national content advisors and through other partnerships. Our latest assessment, which is a whole school, whole community, whole child model assessment, is the Thriving Schools Integrated Assessment. And it is just so robust and awesome. Everything from trauma-informed approaches to tobacco-free policies, you name it. It's in there, and we are just so excited to be able to roll that out to our schools and districts. So that's step 2. You assess what's going on. So you can't know where you're going until you know where you're at. So you've got to have that data. Um, and then step 3 is just developing your action plan. Again, we're really trying to move it from just having the data to, okay, how are we going to use this data? And in a sustainable way, we do that by really telling schools, hey, focus on 1 or 2 things a year you can do. If a school doesn't have a school wellness committee, that should be their first thing, right? Get that school wellness committee and be proud that you've gotten that established, because you're only going to be able to build on that. Step 4 is exploring resources. And again, this is really where community health workers come in. As a program manager for Healthier Generation, I love connecting them, of course, to Healthier Generation resources, but there's also community specific and state specific resources that I love connecting our folks to, whether it be our Community Health Worker Institute, the Center for Community Health Alignment, whether it be our South Carolina FitnessGram data. I could go on, but it's always about connecting them to what's going on. And really, I see that's where community health workers come in. And then, of course, step 5 is where you're taking that action. You have to implement what you've planned to do on your action plan. So whatever those 1 to 2 things you're going for, this is where you really get after it, and this is where you really want to involve the community again. So we all know that there is a capacity issue in our schools, and teachers and educators and those involved in education are asked to do a lot. So the stronger and more robust we have these wellness teams, the more likely they are to be able to get a lot of things done. And then the sixth step, of course, I said it earlier, and it is so important, is celebrating success. You have to acknowledge your small and your big victories. And we do a really good job of doing that at Healthier Generation. We make sure that you take time to smell the roses, and you've got to be happy with anytime you're doing policy systems and environmental changes within your community. Um, Even getting one thing done, it's significant because that one thing could have ripple effects for a long time.
I love how you I love how it's like focus on 1 to 2 goals, so to say, and I like how
Yeah,
it's like a SMART goal. It's like, let's say, let's do something attainable that's relevant for you guys, but that's also gonna make this impact of these ripples, and then continue on an action plan to have like a well thought out, okay, like this is where we are, this is where we want to go, and that's how we're gonna get there together, and then affirming when you've like made a step in that and in that roadmap, so to say, when you've gone past a little road stop, you're like, oh my gosh, look what we did, we made it past here, now we get to go to another spot, and it doesn't just stop at like, oh, our goal is to impact 100 kids and then you stop there. It's something that continuously progresses, and you're going to continue to set new goals and to make more impacts as you go.
definitely. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's really all it's about. And it's so amazing when a school has been doing this for, say, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you start to see those changes built on each other. And when you start to see that list, really when it's policy changes too, we're talking about, sometimes antiquated practices like folks, a certain school might have individuals who still um, use physical activity as a punishment. So they might take away recess time, or they might use actual physical activity as punishment for a certain behavior. We know through evidence-based practices, those things aren't, useful, and they don't work. And so we really try to, get schools to focus on a lot of these policy changes. And I bring that up because, like you said, this isn't just impacting the year that that's implemented. That policy change is going to have ripple effects for years. And so when you just see these things stacked up, and it all starts again with convening that school wellness team, and then you're just building. It's really, it just paints a beautiful picture of things that can be accomplished. Because I think so often, when we're discussing the educational system, and whether it be in South Carolina or nationally, so a lot of times it's with this dismal kind of gloomy perspective, but there's so much strong in our schools, and this is what it's all about. It's all about helping folks thrive through, whether it be education and empowerment through the resources and through taking action. And again, by engaging that community capacity, we start to see some magical things happen.
Yeah, it all starts with that individual and then it kind of like ripples out. We've been talking about this ripple effect. It starts with that individual starting their committee, and then they like bring in more people, and then they have the whole committee started, and then they're making more changes that like continue to impact not only their school but their district, and then changes policies around them that will not only affect like this generation within their school but the next generations to come within it, so to say, a healthier generation, knee slapper. But no, I love that. I love how it's like it's based in, first of all, evidence-based things. So you're like, we know this works. This is how, this is ways that we've seen it work before. But then it starts with the individual, and you just continue on like building onto that and making impact from there.
Definitely. Yeah, that's what it's all about. And, I highlight it so often. This isn't just for students. I think a lot of times with education, we think, and it is, students are a major part of this work, but it's also staff wellness. It's also the folks in the building who really don't have any direct interaction with the child in an educational space through teaching. They might be janitorial staff. They might be the cafeteria worker. They might be someone who works in the office. Everybody there has a stake in wellness within that school environment, and even folks outside of the school building. Really connecting that whole bubble, because schools are such an integral part. They really are just giant community centers. They really are a rallying point for communities. To exist and to thrive. And I think we saw a lot of that in the pandemic. These became feeding sites, these become emergency shelters for folks when storms are coming. Schools are much more than just where a child goes to learn some stuff, and it's valuable stuff. But when we're talking about wellness, we have a long way to go before it's on the same even keel with some of those other domains. But we've really got a lot of great things going on in South Carolina, and that's what makes this work great. And I say it again and again, we get those community health workers involved, it's to the moon. We've got to work harder to do that, and I'm really excited about the opportunities.
Yeah, I love that so much. I'm so glad we got to host you today so that you could also have this platform to be able to share what you do. And maybe some community health workers be like, hey, I love working with kids. Let me go out and do this. Or food share. You mentioned that a little bit earlier. And I was like, no way, I know a food share. And I've even thought about volunteering myself with them because it's just something I'm passionate about. But I love that you're already integrating these like things that are already out there. You're like taking them. You're not like, while you can identify a need for something new that's not there, but you're already taking like community organizations that are already there and you're kind of like, hey, like partner with us, like let's have this symbiotic relationship where we help each other do what we're trying to do, which is just so awesome. I don't know, I love it so much. I'm nerding out right now.
No, I love it. I nerd out on it too, and that's exactly right. And we're stronger together, and we got to continue to build these partnerships and these networks. And I encourage anyone who maybe have tuned in today to listen to this or watch the recording. If you are having issues connecting to your school or to your district, and you really want to get involved, feel free to. My contact information will be a part of this. Feel free to reach out, and I will definitely help navigate that process for you as best I can, but it's so important that we take that first step and we really start with that engagement and building that support. So I just really appreciate you giving me this opportunity and this platform to speak today. It's been a great experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you coming here and sharing. And y'all can see where to contact Seth there and then also visit their website as well for those toolkits. And I think that's all the time we have for today. And thank you so much for sharing again. It was so great to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Have a great day.
Bye.